And joining me now is Neal Okabayashi, Executive Director of the Hawaii Bankers Association. Neal, thank you so much for joining us.
No problem. Hi.
So, big day for you. First day of having all our small business owners come and apply for this new PPP program. What are the biggest concerns you're hearing on your end?
Well, I think the biggest concern is that the law was only enacted 1 week ago, exactly 1 week ago. It was last Friday. So we got our guidance yesterday afternoon, and the loans are being processed electronically through the SBA loan portal. And, we've got $350 billion in loans that are forthcoming this week. Today and next week. So it's a challenge electronically. So there have been some bumps in the road, but the feedback I've gotten from banks is a lot of interest, and they're starting to get through the SBA loan portal. So things are looking up, but I think we all have to be a little patient because that's a lot of loans. So we'll deal with it.
Yeah, and as your members are all the major banks here in Hawaii, are they finding that it's a little bit challenging maybe to educate our residents and our business owners about all the different applications, all the different paperwork they have to actually do? What are some of those?
Actually, the biggest challenge has probably been the electronic issues. As far as the application, there's one application form that was provided by the Treasury Department. So there's one form, and it's basically a 2-page form. And the documents they need to provide are fairly simple because they have to really show what are their payroll expenses, other expenses such as mortgage interest, utility, and rent. But the main thing is that this is the payroll protection program. So what they really need to do is give us their payroll data. Mm-hmm. So I think it's fairly simple in that sense.
Mm-hmm. Are you finding a lot of questions about how soon these funds will be available? I know the applications have to be vetted. How soon can people actually get this in their accounts?
Very soon. In fact, the hope of the Treasury Department is they get it the same day. That's probably not practical, but they'll get it quickly. And the vetting issues have somewhat been ameliorated by the simplicity of the program and certainly my phone. So I think we'll get through all that. That's not a major issue. The major issue is the electronics.
Is it just because they have to transmit everything to the mainland, to DC, or?
Yes, it goes all the way back to DC through the SBA loan portal, and there have been some electronic issues with it.
Mm-hmm.
SBA is working on it, and it's getting better.
Mm-hmm. And there were some questions I know from some small business owners about whether they can apply for other programs while they apply for this, because there's so many different programs out there, right? So what are you telling your clients?
They can, but they can only apply for a loan through this payroll protection program once. And the maximum loan amount is 2.5 times the average monthly payroll cost. So they don't have to take the maximum. But at the same time, if they take less than the maximum and find they need more, they can't get another loan through the payroll protection program. Now, one thing about taking the maximum is that this loan actually is a big forgiveness feature. They can be forgiven for almost all the loans, maybe all. It depends. The banks will decide how much you can be forgiven for. Mainly if you use it for the purposes of the program, which is payroll and the other things I mentioned, you can be forgiven for that. So it doesn't create that much complications for the borrower in terms of how much do I borrow. Now, if you are not forgiven, because maybe you use some of the monies for other purposes that aren't covered by the payroll protection program. In that case, what happens if the loan interest rate is 1% and you have to pay it back within 2 years. So that's a pretty nice loan feature.
Mm-hmm. And I had some other questions about people who may have different businesses. You know, we have some entrepreneurs that have a bar and then they have some construction companies. So how does that work? Can they, I know you said you can only apply once for this, but can you apply one for each of those businesses if they both qualify?
That's a little complicated. They have separate rules for certain industries, so it's really hard to answer that question in particular. What I would suggest is that they go talk to their banker. The reason why that's important is there's almost $350 billion in this program, but Hawaii is not allocated any amount. No state is allocated an amount. It's first come, first serve. So one state could take a big chunk of the money. So what they need to do is go talk to the banker, because the banker will know what the answer to your question is. So, and the other reason they should talk to the banker quickly is it's important to get in line quickly, because it's first come, first serve. So if you're last in line, you may not get any money. We're hoping that if the $350 billion runs out, that Congress will pass another law to put more money in the bucket, so to speak.
Yeah. Do you think that would make it a little bit of a disadvantage for our really small business owners? You know, we have, mom and pop cafes or things like that may not be as adept at managing all of their operations as, larger companies. You know what I mean? So how can you help them and ensure that money goes to them?
Well, the program is designed for 500, a business of 500 employees or less. And you're right about mom and pop. The biggest thing is that you have to have your documents in place as to what you paid on payroll, your average monthly payroll. And you have to have been in business as of February 15 of this year. But if you have the documents and data, it should not be a disadvantage. The biggest problem, besides the electronics thing, is getting to your banker, filling out the application form, giving him the proper documents, and having him send it off to the SBA. So it should not matter.
Okay, well, that's good news.
Of course, assuming you have the documents in place.
And also, all that information? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I should also point out that solo proprietors can apply for a loan as well. Also, self-employed and independent contractors can also apply. The only difference is that for self-employed and independent contractors, they cannot apply until next week, April 10th. So they have to wait 1 week. But what's happening on the mainland is that because of the electronic issues, a lot of banks are waiting till Monday to start taking in applications and forwarding them to the SBA. I should probably say a lot of banks, but I know there's some big banks that are waiting, such as Wells Fargo. They're waiting till Monday.
There's no, I guess, hazard in terms of waiting for that because, like you said, it was first come, first serve.
Yes, but so far, this is the last time I checked, and that was about 6 o'clock this morning. They're like $6 billion so taken so far. So
6 billion out of
6 billion out of 350 billion.
Okay.
Actually,
so
technically it's 349 billion.
All right. So there's still a little bit of hope. Are they, I mean, again, it sounds like a lot of the businesses will have to be much more proactive, reach out to their bankers and just try to take advantage of this. What is the biggest tip, I guess you would say, other than that, to reach out to their bankers and have their paperwork in order?
I think that would be it. Talk to your banker. I know feedback from some of the Hawaii banks is that people have already come in and they've actually came in before today. And so they're kind of in the queue, so to speak. And so that's a big thing. talk to your banker. And most of the Hawaii banks are participating in this program, and uh, they've got the ball rolling.
Okay. Well, good news. And all those documents you said, is that on a website as well of what's required from our small business owners?
I would suggest that a small business entrepreneur or owner go to the website of his particular bank. And the websites that I've checked out, most of the, I think all of the websites I checked out does have a list of the documents that are needed for this program. So maybe that's the first thing you do, look at the website and then talk to your banker, because you, you want the process to go quicker. So if you come with the documents, it will go quicker. If you go to the banker, say, what do I need? Then you have to go back and get the documents. So it's better if you know what is needed and go forward. Also, I should point out that nonprofits, if you're a 501c3, you are eligible. And veterans organizations are also eligible for this program.
Okay, very good. Lots of money there to be taken advantage of, considering all the hardships that our society and our cities are facing right now. So thank you, Neal, for
Thank you.
coming on the show and telling us about it. Neal Okabayashi of the Hawaii Bankers Association, talking about that interesting federal relief that started today.